to order and ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Bob Glenn.
Here.
Commissioner Debbie Nunley.
Here.
Mayor Ron Payne.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Sanford.
Here.
Commissioner Pam Smithwright.
Here.
All present. I would ask everyone to please stand as we have our invocation and our pledge to the flag. Would you please bow and pray with me? Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance on this commission tonight as we undertake the city's business. Give us your wisdom that the actions we take may in the best interest of all of our citizens. We ask your protection for all the troops serving throughout the world, peacemakers. Watch over these young men and women as they go about doing the business of keeping the peace. We also ask your protection for this great nation, the United States. For as our motto says, it is in you that we place our trust. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioners, the first order of business is we have a proclamation declaring June as Toastmasters Month. And if you bear with me, let me read this. It says, whereas the ability to speak in a clear and effective manner is a powerful and important skill that can help people overcome barriers to a measurable performance in virtually every endeavor and line of work. And whereas by assisting individuals with the development of essential communication, leadership, and team building skills, Toastmasters International performs a valuable service for its members and those who hear their message of opportunity, initiative, and good fellowship. And whereas boasting more than 8.5 decades of outstanding achievement, Toastmasters International has grown to over 14,650 clubs in 116 countries, with more than 280,000 members worldwide. And whereas the enhanced knowledge and experience that Toastmasters provides its members includes both public and corporate clubs sponsored by several Fortune 500 companies, including Coca-Cola, Google, and Toyota. And whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. And whereas the Owensboro Toastmasters Chapter 1730 is celebrating their 60th anniversary and is one of the area's most successful clubs. Now, therefore, I, Ron Payne, Mayor of the City of Owensboro, do hereby proclaim June 2015 as Toastmasters Month in Owensboro and encourage the people of our city to recognize the many accomplishments and opportunities in communication and leadership this outstanding organization has realized for people everywhere. Signed this 6th day of June 2015. I believe we have Kevin Young. Kevin, would y'all like to come up and receive this proclamation? And then if you have any comments, you're welcome to make them at the podium. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'll just take one moment here. Kevin Young, I'm currently the president for our Owensboro Club. You know, Toastmasters, talk about them in general, and then our club. We exist to help people with their public speaking skills and their leadership skills. So if you think about, you got to give presentations at work, sales presentations, you got to do campaign speeches. It's practicing those, and it's getting formal evaluation. Here's what you're doing well. Here's a couple of areas where you can improve. It's also just impromptu. So you think about you're on the elevator, you know, with your boss. So you got that small 1 to 2 minute window to have that small chit chat or answer some questions, or maybe you're at the debate and you got to answer these random questions from the debate people. It's the opportunity to improve in those skills, as well as leadership skills, leading the organization and leading meetings. Our Owensboro Club, one of the healthiest in the area. We've been recognized as a distinguished club by Toastmasters International. for the number of members we have, the number of growth of members we've had this past year, and just the number of our members who have been recognized for improving their communication and their leadership skills. Every 6 months we have competitions too against other clubs in the area. Last fall, a member from the Owensboro Club won at the area level, one at a higher division level, and so the best speaker out of over 1,000 Toastmasters came from the Owensboro Club. And here in the spring, the person came in second in the division. So we're doing really well. Great recognition for Owensboro as well when we do that. We're for one of the best clubs in all of Kentucky and southern Indiana. And so I just want to thank you, Mayor and City Commissioners, for this recognition this evening.
Well, Kevin, thank you, and congratulations again. Toastmasters provides a really essential service. We all know there's not many business or careers that one would undertake where you do not have to effectively communicate. So that's a great service that your club provides. Thank you. Commissioners, the next is we have a public events update from Mr. Tim Ross. Tim, you have the podium.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Tim Ross, Public Events Director. I provide updates for you every month or two about different events that are coming in the community, and I wanted to take just a quick moment to look at one of the ones that we've already done. The Moonlight Rides, one we've talked about many times. We had the second event this year, second annual. We did it last year in 14 and this year in 15, just a couple weeks ago, and we ended up with a little over 350 bicyclists out there for this event. Last year we had just shy of 300, so it continues to get bigger. It is a fundraiser for St. Jude. They had a big presence out there, and they were able to raise some significant funds for helping the organization, which helps numerous families right here in our community. So just a sample of an event that has been created that provides some great atmosphere down there on a Friday night, as many of you saw, and provides another event for another niche group of folks in town. The bicyclists like to get out there and ride, and be able to do it safely in the evening time is unique. And so that's an event that we did that we consider to be successful, and it certainly brings in folks. We had folks from Evansville and from Tell City and from other outside counties that were coming in for it. So another good event that we've done. Let me see. Not forward and clicking through. So why don't you just click through them for me? Can that work? Technology.
As on TV, they scroll at the bottom. We are having technical
difficulties in
okay.
this. Yeah. One of the events coming up this weekend that a lot of folks are familiar with, Western Kentucky Botanical Gardens has their Dazzling Daylilies that kicks off in just a couple of days, and they've got the balloons over the garden this weekend. Obviously weather dependent, but if you hadn't had a chance to go out the last couple of years as they've kicked that off, it's a very unique event. Anytime you can do the water balloons, anytime you can do the hot air balloons, it's just a unique spectacle in the sky. And some of the folks that get out and run or walk in the morning times, you'll notice those, and it's neat to have the hot air balloons in town at the Botanical Gardens this weekend. We've got regular programming that we have throughout the summer months. These all kicked off just over the last few weeks. Bluegrass on the Banks continues to provide entertainment a couple times a month down along the riverfront on the first and the third Tuesdays of each month. Randy Lanham helps us with those. Downtown Date Night kicked off just a few, actually I think last week was the first one that we had. And so every Thursday night they've got local music down there along at the Overlook stage. We've also got the Downtown Cruise-In that's been going a couple of times. They're averaging almost 300 cars, classic cars and hot rods, the first Saturday of each month. And so they've got more than 1,000 folks that come downtown and fill up the downtown streets the first Saturday of every month. Again, it's a free event for those that like numerous different types of classic cars and hot rods and foreign cars. Go down there and enjoy those folks and the conversation that you have talking about cars. We've also got Live on the Banks every Saturday night. Again, that draws folks from all over the region, and there's a good crowd down there every Saturday with lots of different styles of entertainment. And all of these are on our website, owensboro.org, as well as the visitowensboro.com site that our CVB has. And then coming up, believe it or not, just a couple weeks away is July 4th. It seems like we were just kind of getting past all the snow of February, and now we're talking about July 4th a couple weeks away. This year, we are joining forces. Davis County is joining us. They're celebrating their bicentennial, and they were anticipating larger crowds, and they're already kind of at their maximum out at Panther Creek, and so they decided they wanted to join what we're doing along the riverfront. And so they're not going to have their activities on July 3rd like they traditionally do. They're joining with us to have a larger fireworks show along the river on Saturday, the 4th of July. So the activities that we had last year are going to be very similar to this time. The evening kicks off at 5 o'clock with a kids' bike parade. We had 100 some odd little kids with their wagons and scooters and little bikes that they decorated patriotic. It was quite fun to see the families out there that parade up and down Veterans Boulevard at 5 to kick that off. And everybody that participates in those with anything that's non-motorized gets to go into the convention center, and they can get some free food and drinks and some goodies for us to enjoy that night. And then there's live music both at McConnell Plaza, there near the convention center, as well as the River Park Center patio at the other end, from 5 o'clock all the way up until the fireworks at 9:15 that evening. The convention center again is doing their 4th Fest event, which is for families, kids of all ages, lots of activities throughout the exhibit hall that evening. They've also got some reserve seating that you can buy to watch the fireworks that night. And then, as I mentioned, the fireworks at 9:15, and Independence Bank is helping offset some of the cost of that. So it'll be a lot bigger fireworks show than we've traditionally had because the county's joining us. So it should be a great night. Hopefully the weather will cooperate like it was so gorgeous last year with a high in the 80s. Hopefully we can pray to get that weather again this July 4th. So July 4th is just a couple weeks away. The road closure, the only road closure we've got, that's kind of an aerial map to give you a little bit. It's kind of tough to see if you're sitting out in the audience, but the only road closure that impacts downtown is just Veterans Boulevard. For public safety, we closed that since there's so many pedestrians out on the streets. Numerous parking at surface lots and garages throughout downtown. I know the Grits Garage will be open that day as well because of the crowds that they anticipate coming in. So Veterans Boulevard will close that afternoon, but other than that, all the streets will be open downtown, and we look forward to a great night on July 4th. And then I've got just a few updates on the air show coming up September 11, 12, 13 weekend. Got confirmation this week from the U.S. Army Special Ops Group that their Black Daggers parachute demo team will be participating this year. We've been trying to get them confirmed, and they confirmed that with us this week, so we're excited to have them. We've also got next up the Friday activities out at the airport. A lot of folks, we get emails from folks, we get phone calls from people saying, when can I see the jets? When can I meet that pilot? When can I get up close to it? And so Friday is the opportunity to do that. From 4 p.m. until around 8:30, 8:45 that night, out at the airport is your chance to do that. So we'll have aircraft displays from the military, from the civilian world. Most all of the performer aircraft will be out there, not all of them, but most of them will be out there. And then once it starts to get dark, several performers take to the skies where they've got some pyro off the airplanes and give a pretty cool performance and kind of a teaser for what's coming up the next couple days. And then Independence Bank is our presenting sponsor for some fireworks that night to cap off the night. So Friday is your chance to get up close and see folks and see a pretty cool little fireworks show to finish off the evening on Friday, September 11th, which will be pretty exciting. We've also got the B-17 in town. We've had dozens and dozens of phone calls about this to say, hey, I heard that there's a chance we can get a ride on a B-17. How do I do that? Or Father's Day coming up, or hey, my husband's birthday's coming and he would die to go on a World War II bomber. That would just be a really unique experience. The link is active for that now. So if you just go to our air show website, owensboroairshow.com, there's a link on that homepage that you can click on, and they've got, I think, 5 different flights that are scheduled to have a chance to get up and sit in some of the different seats of that B-17 bomber. And we're going to take some World War II veterans up, similar to what we did last year in the B-25. So if you're interested in that and you want to get a paid ride, you can do that now on our homepage. And I think, is there one more slide that we've got? Yes, reserve seating at the Owensboro Convention Center. We've regularly, again, have folks asking, is there a place that I can go get a seat so I don't have to get there so early and reserve it? The convention center is where you can do that. Again, the link is on our air show website, but you can get reserved seats on the lower terrace. They've got some buffet lunches that include food and drinks and stuff that are a little bit more upscale upstairs in the balcony, but you can go on and reserve seats to get there and reserve a place so you don't have to fight the crowds that are going to be out there that day as much. So those are a few updates, and you can get all that information on air show website.
Tim, thank you very much. Any questions of Tim at Commission?
Thanks, sir.
Got a lot going on this summer. Commissioners, the Next item on our agenda is our business items. First is to consider approval of the minutes of our meetings dated June 2nd and June 9th, 2015. I'll entertain a motion we approve.
So
Motion.
moved. Second.
Any questions, comments, corrections by anyone? If not, call for the vote.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, Commissioners, is an appointment to the Owensboro Health Board. Reappoint Mark Millsap as a joint city-county appointment to a 3-year term effective October 31st, 2015. I'll entertain a motion we approve.
So moved. Second.
Any questions, comments? Anyone? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Nunley,
Recuse.
Mayor Payne? Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, Commissioners, we go to our ordinances that we have for second reading. Of course, we do vote on these tonight. Counselor, first one?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 13-2015, an ordinance annexing to the city of Owensboro certain unincorporated territory in the county of Davis, adjoining the present boundary line of the city, being property located at a section of Wendell Ford Expressway, being Commonwealth of Kentucky right-of-way, U.S. Highway 60, containing 38.41 acres more or less, publicly read for approval on second reading this 16th day of June, 2015.
Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Counselor, again, Counselor, I guess tonight you're the city manager. Mr. Ray, this is where we are annexing the old bypass, is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor, in support of the TIF on 54.
Correct. Any questions by the commission? We talked about this last time. Anyone in the public? Call for the vote.
Mayor Payne? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, Counselor.
Ordinance 14-2015, an ordinance annexing to the city of Owensboro certain unincorporated territory in the county of Davis, adjoining the present boundary line of the city, being property located at 3280 Vista Point and adjacent street right-of-way containing 2.25 acres more or less. Publicly read for approval on second reading the 16th day of June, 2015.
Motion for approval?
Motion.
Second. Very good. Counselor, I guess this is just an annexation straight up, no incentive agreement. Any questions by the commission? Anyone in the public? Call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Motion passes, yes. Next item.
Ordinance 15-2015, an ordinance amending the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014 and ending June 30th, 2015, and amending Ordinance 17-2014 to fund the budget contingency, provide transfer of funds from Owensboro Riverport Authority and payment of their debt service, provide for construction of 2 first-time home buyer homes, receive neighborhood stabilization grant funding, provide funds for higher than anticipated health care cost, and to rebudget funds in downtown revitalization for sale of property. Publicly read for approval on second reading the 16th day of June, 2015.
Have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Commissioners, we went through this item by item last time, so we won't do that again tonight, but I'll just ask if there's any further questions by anyone here in regards to this budget amendment. Anyone? Anyone from the public? If not, call for the vote.
Commissioner Smithwright?
Aye.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, Counselor.
Ordinance 16-2015, an ordinance of the city of Owensboro making certain findings concerning and establishing a development area for economic development purposes within the city of Owensboro, Davis County, Kentucky, to be known as the Gateway Commons Development Area, approving a local participation agreement, establishing an incremental tax special fund for reimbursement of approved public infrastructure cost and public infrastructure cost, and designating the Department of Finance and Support Services of the City of Owensboro as the agency responsible for oversight, administration, and implementation of this ordinance and the special fund, and authorizing the mayor to take such other appropriate actions as are necessary or required in connection with the establishment of the development area. publicly read for approval on second reading this 16th day of June 2015.
Do you have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions by anyone? I might, Mr. Ray, you might just one more time just kind of lay out the process. The next step, I guess, is for us to proceed to Frankfurt with this information and this request.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, there's one more item to have the commission entertain, and that is for the annexation of the Gateway Commons development area, which will be coming at the next meeting, working through the details of that. Then to present it to the state for preliminary approval and consideration. After that, the state, if they give preliminary approval, will entertain the consultants' bids and award that out for the consultants to come in and really examine the details of how much the state would be willing to participate. And we expect then final approval sometime around the first of the year.
Very good. Again, anyone? Yes. Yes,
I
sir.
had someone contact me today, Mr. Ray. They, just for clarification, what kind of bonds are they for a TIF? And that was one question. Number two is there any way it could fall back on the taxpayers? If those were the two questions
Sure.
I was asked.
Well, I'll be glad to answer those, Mayor Pro Tem. And first of all, I think that this commission has been very diligent and deliberate in the way that it has approached this TIF area. And there are no bonds being issued for this project related to the city of Owensboro. There may be bonds that another public agency may do in the future as it relates to, for instance, the community center. But there's no intent for the city to issue any bonds.
Okay.
Secondly is, as to the taxpayer, if by chance the development was to be delayed in building out, I think there's so little chance that it never come to fruition that maybe the closest scenario would be a delay in building out. All of the upfront expenses related to this have been and will be from entities other than the city of Owensboro. The plus side to some of the most critical path issues here, which are the RWRA projects in support of the consent decree, are projects that need to be done, and this certainly will help that infrastructure. And if the infrastructure does not get repaid by the TIF, there is a possibility, as we fully expect anyway, that those costs will be borne by the ratepayers. So that's an indirect issue. However, that's going to happen, and this is only the plus side of this TIF for the ratepayers.
Thank you for answering that.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions in regards to this? Commissioners, we've talked about this many times. I just think this is a great project. Economic benefit, $3.1 billion over a 20-year period, 200 acres being annexed into the city. And again, as I've said, I think this is the biggest private development project ever undertaken in this community, and we certainly up here want to support economic development in this community, especially when this city does not have to upfront any of the cost. It's just a great project. So, Commissioner Glenn?
I just have one quick question. There was an article in the paper the other day that talked about that most of the traffic flow that would be created by this development would probably come off Pleasant Valley Road. Is that your understanding and as we configure this? Because if you do it off 54, we already have a lot of traffic. We're going to have a tremendous increase if we do it off 54.
Well, again, as part of the very deliberate process in going through evaluating this TIF area, our staff has been heavily involved with discussions with both the developer and the state. And there has been a traffic study done, and two things are planned that will make a significant impact. One is the state has plans for the widening of 54, which will make a tremendous difference in the way traffic flows there and how quickly it can get out of town as it's leaving. The other is that with or without the TIF, the state has recognized that there are increasing demands on the bypass as it comes off onto Pleasant Valley Road, which they plan to address. And the experts that have been working with our crew and also with the developer are looking at every possibility of how that will affect the general area, and to include the residents in the Whimsett Court area there. So I feel very confident that the traffic issues are being addressed as part of the development plan. And when the final development plan comes through, our engineering department, as an annexed part of the city, we'll be looking very closely at the traffic issues to make sure that it's the best situation we can for that size of development. So I feel very confident that we've addressed it.
Thank you, Ed. It sounds like we're being proactive on that issue, and that's good. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you, Commissioner, the timing of this couldn't have been better because, as Ed pointed out, the state's going to widen 54, and there's a certain section of that from the bypass out where it's going to be 6 lanes. And then the next step or next phase is to take part of that road and 5 lane it, and then 3 lanes on further out. So, like I said, the timing of creating this project just couldn't be better. So, of course, the only thing with the transportation project is funding, and that's up, of course, to the General Assembly. And we would want to encourage our local legislators to do everything they could to get that in the 6-year road plan, so work can begin on that project.
Thank you.
Any other questions by anyone? Public? Okay. Call for the vote.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright?
Aye.
Motion passes. Commissioners, we now go to our ordinances that we have for first reading. We can discuss these tonight, of course, as usual, but we'll not vote on them till our next City Commission meeting. Counselor.
Ordinance 17-2015, an ordinance enacting a new section in Article 2, Chapter 2 of the City of Owensboro Code of Ordinances to eliminate primary elections and to affirm nonpartisan citywide elections for the offices of mayor and city commissioners. Introduced and publicly read on first reading the 16th day of June, 2015.
Very good. Thank you, Counselor. Commissioners, as most of you are aware, the last General Assembly adopted a law that will allow cities operating under the home rule. In fact, I think they've created only 2 classes of cities now, one being the home rule cities that have nonpartisan elected officials have the option to abolish their primaries. And for me, I think that is, it was a great move on their part. It's almost like that we took our form of government and tried to make it fit into the partisan scenario, because we're all aware that the purpose of primaries is to select an individual for that specific office to represent a party, whether it's Democrat, Republican, or whatever. So given that we do not have partisan elections, there appears to be no reason for us to have a primary. And there are situations in the past in which we have not had primaries, because if less than 8 candidates apply for these commission seats, there is no primary. It just moves straight into the fall election. But the one benefit I see here of this option, and for us to adopt this, is that even if there were only 7 candidates and we're not going to have a primary, all of the candidates have to file before January. So that means, in effect, you're pretty much campaigning all year long. And I've often thought that the downside of being elected a commissioner is that you're no sooner elected than you're running again. And to me, and I served a term on this city commission, it takes away from the time you have to devote to city business. And under this situation, you will not have to file until the 2nd Tuesday of August of next year. And I just think that is one of the real benefits here of doing this. And again, the other thing is you don't have yard signs and campaigns going on all year long. And I think, we reach a point in which people get really, I think, kind of tired of the election process. And this coming year, we're going to have quite a bit of it with the national elections. Now I've heard that, well, this would help the incumbents, that the incumbents are going to have the advantage or something because we're doing this. I don't believe that. In fact, I suspect one is, of course, incumbents are always going to have an advantage because you have name recognition that someone that has not run before does not have. And but also, an individual that wants to run for office, only has to go through one election process. They don't have to basically file, spend the money, go through the primary, and then turn around and do it again in November. That it would basically reduce the cost for individuals that want to run for one of these seats. And it will be up to the public in November to decide who the top four or who the four individuals are they want to set up here. And of course, that same process applies to the mayor's office. That if there are three people that want to run for mayor, then all three of those individuals would be placed on the November ballot. So I think it's something we should do. I don't see any downsides to it, but again, that's my opinion. There may be others may have other comments. I will start. If there's questions, Commissioner Pam Smith-Wright.
I agree, Mayor, with what you're saying, but the one thing that you were saying that incumbents have an advantage, maybe not necessarily, because of who you are, people may know you and decide not to vote for you. So, it could go either way, but I agree that it takes away from us doing this job because we're campaigning so much, and anybody who's ever run in an election knows that you spend a lot of time worried about whether or not you're going to get elected. So this kind of gets on the back burner your work that you should be doing here. So I'm in agreement.
Anyone else? Any comments?
I
Commissioner
just
Glenn.
have a couple of comments. Talking to our county election officers, if this saved us a lot of money, I think it'd be a great idea. I'm understanding it doesn't. Now, maybe, Ed, can you address that? Did we save, I think we don't save a discernible amount of money by eliminating them, or do we?
Well, the governments themselves aren't going to save any money related to that. There'll still be primaries related to other elections. It's the money saved is the community that supports a number of candidates twice during election season. That's where money for the community may be saved under some analysis.
So you're saying public investment in the candidates' campaigns is saved, but not governmental money? Am I understanding you correctly?
There's no cost savings to the county or to the city for eliminating a primary.
Okay. The only other concern I have is it's sort of like voting for your own pay increase. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. And I do think that while the state has given us the opportunity to do this, I think the main reason they did it, looking at research, is a lot of the smaller communities, let's take Livermore as an example, they struggle mightily to get anybody to run for public office because, frankly, they don't get paid anything. They get paid nothing. They get a wink, a smile, and a handshake. So I think that was the intent, whereas we do get paid something here. It's public record. It may not be a substantial amount. I don't know that you necessarily want to live on your salary from being a city commissioner, and that's not why I run. I know that's not why my colleagues in the mayor ran. But the point is, I think we're in a little different kettle of fish because we do get some remuneration for the time and effort we put into this. And so I have a few concerns about the issue. That's all I'll say.
I might also point out that I don't know if we checked with a lot of other cities, but it's my understanding Bowling Green has adopted this ordinance to eliminate their primaries, and then the city of Henderson has not. Is that correct?
That's
Mr.
my
Ray?
understanding.
Okay.
I defer to Steve Lynn. He's the one that's done the work on this.
That is correct, Ed. Mayor, the city of Henderson chose not to do this. The city of Bowling Green did. And for Commissioner Glenn, I would point out that prior to the passage of this law, previously 4th, 5th, and 6th class cities could eliminate their primaries. Now, with the change of the law to make them all the cities home rule class cities, what they've tried to do is get rid of the patchwork of laws for different cities and make everybody kind of on even footing as to what they do on that.
And I think that's a good intent. I just don't know what the public's view of that would be since we're making rules for ourselves.
Any other questions by the commission?
Go ahead, Debbie.
I guess addressing Mr. Glenn's concern. Again, when you have to campaign twice, you're spending, of course we are being paid, but you're spending a majority of your time as a paid public servant campaigning. And I think the people are going to get, so to speak, more bang for their buck if we spent less time campaigning and more time working for the citizens of the community.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public? Yes, sir.
James Mattingly, 11881 Highway 144, Hill Park. I just was concerned about the reason for a primary is to narrow down the field. And if you had a lot of people that wanted to run, you know, I think it could get pretty confusing. Isn't that the purpose of a primary, to eliminate and narrow down to 8? So that's all I'd like to say.
Very good. Anyone else? If not, council, the next item.
Ordinance 18-2015, an ordinance authorizing the retention of 1% of all new occupational license fees due and payable to the city of Owensboro, Kentucky by ordinance from the salaries, wages, and other compensation to be paid to new employees of Owensboro Grain Bio-Based Products, LLC, for a period of 10 years, provided said corporation meets the criteria set forth in its application for incentives under the Kentucky Business Investment Program, introduced and publicly read on first reading the 16th day of June, 2015.
Very good. Commissioners, we've done these in the past. I think it's great tonight. We've actually got 3 of them on our agenda where we, by virtue of the fact that we're willing to give up a little occupational tax, these businesses can obtain incentives from the state of Kentucky as they grow their employment number of employees. So this is a good thing. We're growing this economy. We're helping these businesses, and I hope we see many more of these in the future. Mr. Ray, you got any comments about this? Or
The only comment I make, Mayor, is there are 3, the next 3 agenda items, one for Owensboro Grain, one for the Castle and Welding, and the other for First Security Bank. All similar, all a 1% rebate of their occupational, which makes them qualify for the larger incentive, which is that from the state. But these are all, what's important is on new jobs and new infrastructure investment in our community. And I want to thank EDC for their helping making this happen and pulling these things together. You know, they really reach out to the business community and help them get these incentives.
Great. Well, we want to congratulate all 3 of these businesses as they continue to succeed in this community. So, and want to do everything we can to help them succeed, which we are tonight. Any other commissioners, you got any questions, comments? Anyone in the public? Then if not, we'll just go ahead and read the other 2, Counselor, and these are all quite similar.
Ordinance 19-2015, an ordinance authorizing the retention of 1% of all new occupational license fees due and payable to the city of Owensboro, Kentucky by ordinance from the salaries, wages, and other compensation to be paid to new employees of Castle Welding and Manufacturing, LLC, for a period of 10 years, provided said corporation meets the criteria set forth in its application for incentives under the Kentucky Business Investment Program, introduced and publicly read on first reading this 16th day of June.
Very good. And Castle and Welding and Manufacturing, of course, is the business that is out at the old Green River Steel site. So again, that's another exciting thing that we finally have that property cleaned, cleared, and everything. Great. Congratulations, and want to wish you all the success. I think it's wonderful what you're doing out there. So Counselor, go ahead and read the next one.
Ordinance 20-2015, an ordinance authorizing the retention of 1% of all new occupational license fees due and payable to the City of Owensboro by ordinance from the salaries, wages, and other compensation to be paid to new employees of First Security Bank of Owensboro Incorporated for a period of 10 years, provided said corporation meets the criteria set forth in its application for incentives under the Kentucky Business Investment Program, introduced and publicly read on first reading the 16th day of June, 2015.
Very good. And again, we want to congratulate First Security Bank, because it's my understanding they selected Owensboro for their headquarters here, and they could have placed that in numerous other locations. So again, great news that they are growing their business. Any questions by councilors? Yes, sir.
That's for the people out here. What's the criteria to get that on a business? People know, is it a certain number of jobs or?
Mr. Ray, you are
Mayor, we have a representative from EDC here that really is the expert, and if you could defer that question to her.
Explain it.
I'm Patty Osborne. I'm Vice President of Economic Development here in Owensboro. It does take 10 new jobs and a minimum capital investment of $100,000. I will say most projects well exceed that.
Thank you.
And Commissioner, I'd add that these together represent 67 new jobs to full-time jobs to Owensboro, and capital investment of nearly $50 million. So it's an exciting time for Owensboro.
Oh, it is. It really is.
Thank you.
Good news. Any other questions by anyone up on the dais here? Anyone from the public? If not, we will go to the next item, Counselor.
Ordinance 21-2015, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a lease agreement by and between the City of Owensboro, Kentucky and the International Bluegrass Music Museum Incorporated, providing for both parties to cooperate in the design, construction, and programming of an international bluegrass music center within the proposed downtown tax increment financing development area, and further leasing the facility to the International Bluegrass Music Museum Incorporated for an initial term of 20 years, whereby the museum will, among other terms, be obligated to pay the city $4,400,000 toward the construction of the facility, fund a capital maintenance reserve, allow use of the facility by the city at times when other events are not scheduled, operate the facility, and maintain the building in good working order and condition. Introduced and publicly read on first reading the 16th day of June, 2015.
Very good. Thank you, Counselor. Commissioners, as y'all are all aware, we are building the International Bluegrass Music Center. The city will be building it. The city will own it, and we will lease it to the museum to be operated as this International Bluegrass Music Center. Mr. Ray, you might want to highlight some of the provisions of this lease agreement for the commission and also for the general public.
Thank you, Mayor. As it was said in the introduction reading, it's a 20-year lease with a 10-year renewable period. And then the parties would come together at that point in time and determine the future of that, with the intent that this be an enduring project and an enduring stable and brand for the city of Owensboro. The 47,000 square foot facility is a 3-story facility. This is a triple net lease where once it's leased to the Bluegrass Museum for their initial investment of the $4.4 million, it's $1 a year for each term, but the expenses related to the operation of that facility are that of the museum. The insurance, taxes, and operational maintenance. That includes establishing a $250,000 reserve for capital maintenance and a contribution of $30,000 a year towards things like HVAC, roofs, windows, those things that the city would normally fund over a capital replacement period. Also, the museum will have a restaurant that needs to be operational at the time the museum has their grand opening. So those are simultaneous processes according to the lease. The city would have an appointment on the board of the museum, and that the museum would have to have a board that has a majority of its members, which is right now under their bylaws 21, so 11 of their members within 50 miles of the city of Owensboro, primarily due to the having a stake in such a huge project in a prominent location in our community. that those people live in this community. Also, the construction, the design, the FF&E, fitting out, everything involved with this, including the $250,000 construction, $250,000 capital contingency, puts this budget at about $15.3 million. We expect to apply for the downtown TIF. We have a municipal order in your agenda tonight to ask for you to approve our consultants to move forward with the downtown TIF and to apply to have some of this money that the city has put forward to make this happen recouped via that TIF. So with that being said, if everything goes well with the downtown TIF and the TIF gets approved, we'd like to see the groundbreaking shortly after preliminary approval of the TIF, which is an essential element of that infrastructure. Maybe right around November timeframe, and some unveiling of some of the intricacies of the interior views and exterior views sometime between now and then. So it's an exciting time. The museum committee has been very dedicated and has spent an unbelievable amount of time involved in the design of this facility. So we've got a good team, good architectural team, good museum design team, and good project management team. We're looking forward to the project.
Ed, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, because I know you have put a lot of hard work into this project, this document, working with members of that museum board. And again, I can't say enough about how much we appreciate all that you're doing, because I know this TIF on 54, this TIF downtown, this project here. I know you guys have got a lot on your plate, but you're really coming through for us. And on behalf of the citizens of this community, I want to thank you and Steve both for all the work you guys put in on these things.
Thank
Commissioners, any questions of Councilor? Okay. Anyone in the public? If not, Steve, let's move on to the municipal orders.
Municipal Order 16-2015, a municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Department of Highways, and the City of Owensboro, under the terms of which the Commonwealth will reimburse the city up to $500,000 for funds expended to resurface various streets in the city. Introduced and publicly read for approval this 16th day of June 2015.
Have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Commissioners, this is the last piece of the funding we're going to receive from the state in order to support the International Bluegrass Music Center to the tune of $5 million. And I cannot say enough about the governor and the governor's staff for the work they put in to be able to get these funds to this community. And let me tell you, they worked very, very hard to come up with a method to be able to do this. And I want to thank Governor Beshear. He's just been a great supporter of the city of Owensboro and this community. So with that, any comments, questions, anyone here? And just for the sake of the public understanding, what's happening is we have $500,000 that we've set aside to do street work in the city, which was going to be done with city funds. What this will allow us to do is take that money directed towards the museum, and then the state will fund those transportation projects for us. So it's just a way in order to get an additional $500,000 to that project. Any questions? No one here? Anyone in the public? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Mayor Payne,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford,
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn.
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioners, we do not need to do item 13. That was struck from the agenda. We will go to item 14. Counselor?
Municipal Order 18-2015, a municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute a lease agreement between the City of Owensboro and the Owensboro Area Museum of Science and History, Incorporated. Introduced and publicly read for approval the 16th day of June 2015.
Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Mr. Ray, would you explain what we're doing here?
Yes, Mayor, we've had a long relationship with the museum, and the building that the museum is housed in is owned by the city of Owensboro. That lease has expired, and this is a renewal of those terms and conditions, and further explains the responsibilities of each entity in a little more detail to make sure that things like maintenance and upkeep of the building are clearly defined. It's a 15-year term, and it would put us back into a relationship to move forward with the museum and allow them to continue their operation.
Very good. See, we had a motion and a second on this. Any questions from the commission? Anyone from the public? If not, call for the vote.
Mayor Payne,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford,
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, Counselor.
Municipal Order 19-2015, a municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an application for a fiscal year 2015 state Homeland Security grant through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security in the amount of $47,672.50, the proceeds of which will be utilized by the City of Owensboro Police Department to purchase 20 portable radios, 20 radio holsters, 20 radio batteries, and 1 multi-unit base charger, no match required from the city, introduced and publicly read for approval this 16th day of June, 2015.
Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Well, Chief, I hope we get it. It seems like we don't have an agenda up here anymore, that you don't have some application here trying to seek some funds. So I want to commend you and your department on your efforts here to get this money into the city of Owensboro's coffers. So thank you very much for that. Commissioners, any comments, questions about this? Public, call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford,
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Mayor Payne.
Motion passes. Next item, Council.
Municipal Order 20-2015, a municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Southwest Chapter of the Kentucky Mountain Bike Association, Incorporated, establishing a partnership for the continued development and maintenance of the Rudy Mine Trails located at Ben Halls Park, introduced and publicly read for approval this 16th day of June, 2015.
Very good. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Ray, you want to talk a little bit about this, especially what this chapter does for us?
I sure will, Mayor. This is a relationship that our Parks Director, Amanda Rogers, has really been able to put together with the Kentucky Mountain Bike Association, and is really between our Parks Department, our Public Works Department, and this organization has developed the trails out at Rudy Mines and Ben Hawes into a really premier, health-oriented biking establishment that is drawing people from all over the region to bike on these trails. What Kimba, they go by Kimba, does for us is helps design, helps monitor, helps program, helps tend and maintain those trails. And it's really a great public nonprofit organization relationship to really bring out the best, because our Parks Department alone, our Public Works Department, our police and fire, there's a lot of remote areas out there. They can't do it alone, and they really have taken ownership in those trails out there, and we're really appreciative of what they're doing. This is a renewal of an arrangement, and we hope to keep that relationship continuing forward.
Great. Amanda, I've got to tell you that I talk to bikers every once in a while, and they just can't say enough about the trails out there. And I assume we're getting attention from around the country as far as people being able to come in here and use that. I talked to one fellow the other day, and he was really excited about the trails, you know, talking about the best he'd ever seen. And I guess it's just another one of these amenities that we have in this town that we don't talk a lot about, but the people that are involved with this know all about these trails. And so, again, it's just one more great thing that's going on in this city. And Amanda, thank you for all your work here on this project and working with these people. I think that's a great way to do things, get people to take ownership and help maintain this asset that they all love. So it's good, another good project. So any comments to the public? Anyone out there? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Smithroyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, Counselor.
Municipal Order 21-2015, a municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement by and between the City of Owensboro and Commonwealth Economics Partners, LLC, for the provision of consulting and other services for the establishment of a downtown developmental area, and further authorizing the filing of an application for a state tax increment financing project. Introduced and publicly read for approval this 16th day of June, 2015.
Do you have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Well, Mr. Ray, this is just the first step, again, of going through the process of developing TIF for downtown.
That's right, Mayor. We initially did a study that ended in September to analyze the downtown TIF feasibility. Commonwealth Economics did both that in '54. This puts Commonwealth Economics back on the team for downtown, and they'll continue throughout that project until its fruition. We hope to be sometime around this time next year.
Good. Any questions about the commission? Anyone in the public?
I just had one real quick.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Just for the public's benefit, Ed, the fee that we pay mainly goes to the state for the application, is that correct? It's about $180,000 if I got the number right.
That's right, Commissioner. The overall budget for this project is $185,000. All of that $185,000 is recoverable through the TIF funds. Majority of that money is going to pay for the consultants that the state hires to look at the retail leakage out of our community, and for the application fee and the other fees associated with the state. There's an economy of force here. They've significantly, Commonwealth Economics has significantly discounted it if they would have done this just as an individual TIF project, because they're doing both of them. We got a very significant discount in what their monthly fees will be. So again, we try to do everything we can to use economy as our driving goal in getting these things done right.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Public? Yes, sir.
Steve Jarvis, 113.5 East 2nd Street. Will the tax dollars that I pay within this area, will they be diverted to pay off? This is different from what I've heard in the past. Or, different cities did different ones.
Yeah, Steve, we have a base in regards to the taxes we collect right now. Those taxes go where they're going today. The increment, that's why this thing's called tax increment financing. It is the additional taxes that will be generated from development and projects down here that will be captured over this 20-year period, a lot of that being state tax revenue.
So existing money will stay in the general fund?
That's correct.
Okay.
Anyone else? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd?
Aye.
Very good. Motion passes. Next item is city manager's items. Mr. Ray?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'd ask the commission to consider the following personnel appointments. Joanna Mattingly, probationary full-time non-civil service appointment to bus driver, effective June 29th, 2015. Lisa Shellnut, probationary full-time non-civil service appointment to public works bus driver, effective June 29th, 2015. And Sean Harrell, regular full-time non-civil service appointment to bus driver dispatcher, effective June 23rd, 2015.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Any comments? Anybody? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford?
Yes.
Commissioner Smithroyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yes.
Motion passes. Anything else?
A couple of small comments, Mayor. Everybody knows, obviously, if you step outside, the summer is here. And a couple of general thoughts about it is time for entertaining outside, Mayor, and we fully support it, and we love to have that in the community. People have gatherings, they have music outside, both at businesses and at residents and homes. And we'd ask everybody to be aware that the noise levels on those need to be appropriate to entertain the folks that are at your establishment, but that we do have to respect the community and the residents around you and those businesses that have residents around them, to keep the music and the festivities to a level where you're entertaining just those folks that are there. We do have an ordinance that our police officers will enforce if they have to. But generally throughout the community, it's just a good reminder, and we have a lot of great cooperation. But I can do that as a reminder. Also, as the summertime comes, I've been told today that our inlet water feature is up and running for the season. An amazing effort by our Public Works Department, Leland Hancock and Wayne Shelton and his crew. Mayor, as you all know, the water levels were at an unprecedented level, which backed up silt, mud into places where it never expected to be, at least not in the near future, and it really was a tremendous effort. And the last thing I'd mention is our parks are open for business. They're outstanding, and I hope everybody visits those parks. But part of our park system also is our Edge Ice Center, and if it's hot outside and you want an alternative to go inside to have a birthday party or do something, please consider going to the Edge, which is a cool place to go. That's all I have.
We're ways in one. Mr. Ray, I've got only one thing to discuss or ask you maybe to enlighten us about, and it's the bridge lights, because I think there's some confusion here about what exactly our options are, because, you know, it's my understanding that staff really is recommending that we do not keep that lighting system that we currently have on that bridge. It really was never designed to be a bridge lighting system, and there's problems with the wiring and actually the lights themselves. And the new LED system, actually the lights will last longer and use a lot less electricity, so the operating cost there would be much cheaper. But would you just maybe clarify that, because I think there are some people think that we could spend a little money and just turn those lights back on up there, and that's really not the case.
I will. Thank you, Mayor. The city went through a process to hire engineers to go up and inspect every one of the approximately 211 lights and the whole system. And it was determined that the system cannot be turned back on. It is not in a condition where either it meets current code, it did at the time, it doesn't today, and with the system having been shut down, all the lights would need to be replaced. All of the wiring past a certain junction point would have to be replaced, and all of the wiring would have to be put inside conduits. And the cost to do that and have the effect that we had with those lights and go back to a less effective and less efficient lighting system would run about $300,000. To go to a multi-programmable, multi-color LED system that is much easier to maintain and has a lot longer life cycle and easier to inspect would probably run somewhere between $100,000 and $220,000 more. So there are options, Mayor, but one option that's not on the table is flipping the switch and turning those systems back on.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Ed, would we not be able to use this as a project for the TIF, downtown TIF, to pay for?
We absolutely would include the bridge lighting as a TIF reimbursable expense, and we would hope that we would get the support from the KEFTA to include that and recoup those funds. Right now, I've had conversations with various entities that have control. We're seeking this permission from the state at this point in time to allow us to go on and proceed and present formally to this commission an option that the state would approve. So at this point in time, it's in their hands, and we're available to work with them in any way possible to make this thing happen. but absolutely like to include that as a TIF project.
But Ed, I guess that just based on what I've heard in the last few days, I'm rather optimistic that there seems to be movement now to give this city permission to go ahead and relight that bridge, subject to, like you pointed out, approval of the state in regards to the system we'd use. So yes. I'm feeling fairly good about us moving on this. Commissioners, anything else? This is open comment here, so I'll start with Commissioner Glenn. You got any comments?
Yes, just a quick one. Over the weekend, the Lions Club hosted a local soapbox derby event. I'm always impressed with what the partnership in the city, Lions Club, and the soapbox derby community. Of course, the winners get to go to Akron, which is a big national event. The weather held out. Can't have rain when you do those contests, and the rain held off to the last second, so we finished it. I was out there working, as was Leland Hancock, and it's a great facility. We should be very proud of it. So it was a great event.
Commissioner Nunley, anything? Mayor Pro Tem?
Just a couple things. Who could explain this? Fireworks. What are the rules? Because there's been some going off, and people have asked me, what are the rules with fireworks, and how late can people let them off? And
Mayor, I'd ask you to recognize our fire chief.
Chief Mitchell.
Steve Mitchell, Fire Chief. For consumer fireworks, now through the 4th of July, of course, is the big time for that. What we've been stressing to people is understand the rules. You cannot set them off in public ways, so sidewalks, streets, things like that. And you cannot set them off within 200 feet of any structure. And that includes vehicles. So any structure is a house, a garage, a shed, or a car, anything like that. So those are the main rules, and they can be set off until 10 o'clock at night, except for July 4th itself, or it's July 3rd and I think July 4th, until midnight, I believe. And then it's midnight on New Year's Eve as well.
Anything else?
Just one comment. My other comment was, I was so glad to see tonight these three companies expanding. I believe you said, Mr. Ray, $50 million total investment. I'd like to see something like that every time I set up here. That really makes me feel good. 67 new jobs. Since I've been up here, I've really been pushing the private sector, and I think this is just great news. This is probably one of the greatest things I've seen tonight to me. So anyway, but I'll end with that.
Okay. Good. We'll open it up to the public. Anyone in the public? Any comments? Yes, ma'am. Sir.
Steve Jarvis, 113.5 East 2nd. Mayor, Commissioners, I'd just like to comment on a couple newspaper articles newspaper ran lately about the police department. It just kind of backs up what I've said here before about how great a department we have, and the newspaper just put all the numbers to it as to what officers are doing, and I'm so proud of them. And of course the fire department also, when I'll see a lot of runs downtown where they send, for ambulance, but the fire department's one that shows up first, Chief. They're always there first, and if we happen to fall into a windfall of money sometimes in the future, I'd like to see these people that protect and truly serve us to get a bonus maybe, if we run across a big sack back here we can't find him, you kind of roll it out here. We just maybe spread it around these guys, or, these officers rather, and give him a little something, extra to just let them know how we do feel about these people. And final comment, I'll kind of pat you on the back a little bit. Now let me, kind of gig you a little bit. It disturbs me to see these signs down here at Smothers Park advertising alcohol for sale, at the convention center, and I won't say any more about it, but we have children down there, and these are within sight of these children at the spray park down here. It truly does disturb me to see that we're allowing, signs like that to be, put up in our park. Thank you.
You're good. I think Mr. Jarvis is referring to only on Friday after 5 nights, the convention center will have banners pointing to the fact that you can get buy beer and hot dogs at the convention center because they're being sold there. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Kathleen Blumenthal Mattingly, and I reside at 11881 Highway 144 East, Philpott, Kentucky. I'm here in regards to the lights on the bridge. I think they're beautiful. My husband recently just put up solar panels out where we live, and we were discussing this. He worked at OMU in the control room at the Elmer Smith's the power plant, and we were discussing this, and y'all were talking about the LED lights and stuff. Couldn't you put solar panels on the bridge to cut down the cost of the use of the power of the lights, to save the city some money, pertaining to the lights, the use of the lights? I think the idea of the LED lights is great, for the environment. I think that's a great idea for the city. But could you all consider that? He was even telling me that there's even a thing that it would even run on the current from the river. That it's like some kind of generator that would run on the current of the river that would power those lights, and that it would even power the batteries. I know it's something new, but the paper is going to do a write-up on us. Next month we're going to be featured in the paper. Kenergy has been out. They've taken pictures of our solar panels that we've got installed. The Owensboro City and Planning Commission, they've been out taking pictures. They've approved us on it, and they were just fascinated with them, and so we said, well, we're doing this. Why can't the city do that with the bridge, and save the city some money?
Ma'am, I tell you that that's intriguing, and we'll pass that on to OMU and see if that's something that potentially maybe we could pursue here. I'm intrigued by it because if there is one place in the city where I think you could put solar panels that wouldn't be blocked or anything of that nature, be on top of that bridge. So, Mr. Ray, you got that? Pass that on to OMU and see if we can.
What power that is generated from those panels? There is power companies that will buy the power in Ohio from those solar panels.
Ma'am, we've got the ball, and we'll just we'll see what OMU has to say about this.
Well, you can talk to my husband. I mean, he worked there, and he's done his homework, and we'll be glad to talk to y'all about it.
Very good. Thank you.
And I mean, I love Owensboro. I was born and raised here.
Very good.
So
Thank you for the suggestion.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Call for the vote.
Mayor Payne,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanford,
Yes.
Commissioner Smithwright, Commissioner Glenn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Thank y'all for coming.